Ready? Okay. So it's, what is it, 2:59 on the computer, so we're just about there to call the meeting to order. You have B team substituting chair today, and then we have substituting directors as well, so 3, so bear with me. But I guess the first order of business would be to approve the meeting minutes. Everybody should have gotten those from June 12th. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any corrections? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. The chairman's report. I'll just iterate a couple things that Dick and I talked about. I know was some discussion. I wasn't here last meeting, but there was some discussion about whether or not we should have the meeting times. Differing opinions on whether we should have the meeting that suggested times for various topics on the agenda. And I know that it has been helpful for staff and that some staff and visitors have time commitments. So I think the recommendation was to continue with that for the time being, unless there's, any other reason not to. Certainly if we exceed some allotted times, then so be it. And then there was some discussion about additional members last time, I think. And I know the process has been that we accept interest forms. Folks voluntarily express their interest. And right now, I don't believe there's a big backlog of interest forms. And Dick did discuss it, Chair did discuss it with each of the commissioners as to whether or not they had an opinion about additional members. And none of them had a strong opinion. They said they'd support whatever we really wanted to do. But right now, because we don't really have such a backlog of candidates, I think it probably will remain tabled for a little bit.
Or we could start looking for people.
Or we could start suggesting.
Absolutely.
I mean,
one of the things, I'm sorry, Charlie.
Yeah, please.
One of the things that Jamie had mentioned was, because we're constantly pushing out like the interest forms for people to fill out, and then we have it on hand when a position does open up. Jamie said she would love to see somebody perhaps from the Washington College community, whether it's in their economics or, business realm. She feels like they would be an excellent candidate.
Yep.
So she thinks we should all continue to keep pushing for applications, basically. And when we get like a candidate that's, really good, then maybe we can revisit with the commissioners about expanding.
Sure. So we have those forms, those interest forms, though, that certainly can be distributed if anyone has a candidate.
If you can find them, I can never find that darn form. No matter how many times I pull it up, I was like, I know.
Yes, and I can send the link to everybody too. If anybody has anyone in mind that they'd like to, send the link to, you're more than welcome to. And we also do push it out in the newsletter like every couple months. So I'll probably put in the newsletter again for this month as well.
I think, but personal contact is the thing to really
Yes.
get somebody.
Yep, so we can send that link too if you guys want to push that out.
Great.
So Charlie, what were you saying in the beginning about meeting time? What was that now?
This is the time, suggested times for various topics. I think there was some discussion.
What is it?
I wasn't a part of it.
Oh, you mean
but-
just like this times on the
Right.
agenda today? Oh, I didn't know what the heck you were
No,
talking
no,
about.
sorry.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I think it just keeps us on topic.
Yeah, that's fine. I thought I totally missed something. All right,
No.
gotcha.
And I think, there was some discussion about changing the meeting time, but I know that might be difficult for staff. So that might be something we table again for a future discussion. The other topic I just wanted to bring up was any suggestions of topics or questions. I think the staff would appreciate it if there's something you'd like to bring up, if they have a heads up so they could research or, prepare an answer to, might be helpful. So just a suggestion. But I think that's, the beacon survey. That topic did come up. Judy, you and I discussed that a little bit, and I was just telling Paula about it. So there's a beacon survey that's produced by, who is it produced by, Katie?
It's Salisbury University, I think, is the one who sends it out. It's a handful of different organizations, though. But yes, it's through Salisbury University. And Jamie actually forwarded me an email that we can push out on social with the press release, which I will also share with all of the members. It's something that they've been doing. I was telling Charlie a little bit earlier. It started as like an annual thing, and then they made it biannual, and now I think they're doing it quarterly. It feels like monthly, though. But we push that out, too. I'm not quite sure what they're doing with the data they're collecting. It's kind of, they're interviewing businesses, taking like a pulse on their feelings for the business climate and things of that sort.
It's for the Eastern Shore, right? For the
Correct.
9, you're right.
Do you have any ideas what kind of questions?
I will forward you the
I didn't open,
email.
I saw it, and I didn't
they're-
open, I didn't want to get started on it, because, I didn't want to have to fill it out. I just kind of wanted to know what was in it.
I looked, and before I could answer all the first, I couldn't advance, but at least the first set was more exactly what it says, sentiment. Like, how do you feel about this upcoming year? Do you think it'll be better or worse than last
I
year?
can tell you're a little skeptical
And-
of the whole thing.
Well, I don't know who, I don't know what they're,
What does better mean?
right.
Yeah.
And who are they asking and what,
Yeah.
just my opinion, but it'll be interesting to see.
But it's kind of concerning, because we have a survey, and I was going to bring that up during our discussion, so we can talk about that later. But we have a survey, they have a survey, you say it's almost quarterly, and then like Queen Anne's County's doing a survey, and I don't know if there's any, it's just sort of like, they must get sick of surveys.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be concerned about some sort of level of fatigue with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll have to make ours really good.
I think the
give 'em a can.
in-person interaction should help, too, versus,
Just an email of a survey.
I think so, and I think if you see the questions in the Beacon survey, it's a little bit monotonous.
Yeah, but if they feel obligated to do it, they still got to do
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah.
And that's it for Chairman's report. Anything else you had to bring up? Okay.
I don't think so.
So we have John Schratweiser and Hester, sorry. Hester, I know, you're my neighbor, I know your name. From the Kent Cultural Alliance and Chestertown Arts and Entertainment Manager. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us. Hi,
Looking forward to an update.
we have a slideshow.
Oh, great.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It's on that
It's
side for
small.
us, so if you look, we're looking at a different screen, that's
Oh,
why.
so we're looking
Yeah,
at
you're
that
looking
one.
there.
No,
looking
we're
at
not
that.
ignoring you.
Yeah.
That's all right. What are you watching? No, good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Schratweiser, I'm the director of the Kent Cultural Alliance, Hester Sachs, deputy director of the Kent Cultural Alliance, and also manager of the Chestertown Arts and Entertainment District. So we are formerly the Kent County Arts Council, founded in 1975 by Vince Raymond, so we're almost ready to celebrate our 50th year of work in arts and culture in Kent County, which is very exciting. In 2020, we changed our name to the Kent Cultural Alliance to try and put forth an image that went beyond just paintings and concerts, because I think that's more truthful to who we are, and we'll walk you through a little bit of this and hopefully help you see that that is more than who we are, and show you sort of where we focus our time, our energy, and our resources on behalf of the people of Kent County. So the next slide is just our grant making. We just finished our fiscal year, June 30th. So you may or may not know that we make grants across Kent County. We make general operating support grants to organizations whose primary focus is the presentation or production of arts programming. That's limited in Kent County, but not as limited as some other counties. So for our $40,000 in general operating grants supports the Mainstay in Rock Hall, the National Music Festival, the Chester River Chorale, Chestertown River Arts, and the Garfield Center for the Arts. Those are the only recipients of general operating support because they are the only organizations who are primarily producing or presenting arts. We have, thanks to funding from the state, primarily COVID funding from Governor Hogan's office, 3 years ago launched the first round of independent artist grants for artists who are living and working in Kent County. You do not have to be a professional full-time artist. You can be someone who is at least making your art available to the public. The grants are $500. The first year we did $15,000 worth of grants. The second year we did $20,000, and this past year we did $26,000. So that's basically 42 $500 unrestricted grants that an artist can use for anything and everything. They can pay their rent with it, or they can buy new materials to continue their art practice. This is a direct line from the Maryland State Arts Council, which itself began general support artist grants 2.5 years ago during the pandemic. Those grants were $6,000, and they funded 250 of them in their first year. They are lowering the amount to $2,500 in the coming year in hopes that they could expand to $400 or $500. They're getting about 1,500 applications a year. We have not turned anyone away yet. We have a certain amount of money put away for it. We've not reached, this year we just reached it, and then had 2 people who didn't get their applications in under the wire, who were very deserving, and so we found the money and said that anyway. But it's putting dollars into the hands of artists in Kent County, who are then spending that money to make art and work as an artist in this county. So we think that's pretty good. We have project grants as well, and those grants are available to any entity, and it does not necessarily have to be a registered 501c3. Any entity that is producing an event or program that has an arts or culture component to it. Those range widely, and they can be up to $1,000. This $15,000 is representative of more than 15 grants. But we did have money left over this year in that category, which tells us that we need to do more work in the year ahead to promote those, to make sure that people know they're available. But they go to everything from, providing entertainment at Rock Hall Fest to Chestertown Tea Party Festival to Betterton Day, or whatever it might be. We've hosted things at the American Legion. We've worked with Maneri's Dream. We've worked with projects at the college that we've helped fund. So those are pretty broad, and we cap those at $1,000 so that we can have enough to go around. And then there's our public school system, and this was a banner year for them with us. And that is because for the last, I guess almost 7 years now, we've been hosting the professional development days for the fine arts teachers at Kent County Public Schools. So there has varied between 9 and 11 of those teachers, including all 5 public schools, including music, theater, and the visual arts. So 3 or 4 times a year we get together, we meet with them, we hear about what their projects are for the year, we find out where we can help financially, and then also where we can help in connecting them to services and resources in the community that might help their programs. We believe very strongly in this partnership with with the fine arts teachers in our public schools. And in August of last year, we made it clear that we had access to foundation funds where we could, in fact, access more money than we normally do in a given year for them. It's normally between $5,000 and $7,000. What happened this year was Jody Bortz, who has now taken over the music program, identified an enormous deficiency in the instruments in the Kent County Public Schools, both in classes and in band and in other programs. Broken tubas, broken violins, broken this, that, or the other thing. Most of the instruments that the students are using are 40 years old or more and have not been well cared for over that time period. So she put together a list of about 4 pages worth of things that were needed for music instruction at all 3 school levels, elementary, middle, and high, and particular needs of the band as the band is getting better and better each year and bigger each year and going to national competitions, which is an amazing experience for the students themselves, playing the football games, playing the parades around the county. So we put together a package of $25,000 over 2 years. So last year it was $15,000. We just got the second grant that we were hoping for $10,000. That will go to the Board of Ed in September, and that will satisfy almost all of the list of everything that Jody was looking for to really boost the music programs at Kent County Public Schools. We work with the fine arts teachers in the theater department to promote all of their programming. Art students are often doing field trips to the Raymond Center to see the exhibitions that we have up, spending time with them, bringing them around town, showing them different projects and things like that. So our partnership with the schools is strong, and we only hope to make that stronger. The next slide, just a quick list of things that you may or may not know that we are involved in helping to fund and or produce. We have been funding the Kent County Museum's driving tour now for about 6 years. We pay for the advertisements in the Kent County News and the Tidewater Trader, working closely with Stephanie Gossman to make sure that we're getting the right message out. It's been a good relationship with them, and we continue to be available. Some of our mini grants have gone to them over the years as they try and produce concerts like at the Betterton Museum or other programming like that has happened. So we will absolutely be continuing that. This year, for the first year, we're officially sponsoring the Kent County Fair. You may have noticed that I'm now second only to the mayor of Rock Hall in terms of not having to kiss the cow. If you don't know about that, I encourage you to look at that and then come see us at the county fair, because I'm going to kiss the cow anyway, right, Judy?
Yeah, I know.
But we sponsored musicians for the main stage as well this year, so we're getting on as a sponsor. We are also, and I'll come to the residency in a minute, and I'm going to go way over my 10 minutes, but you took less time, so it's okay, right? Our first residency this year was called Land, and it was done in partnership with Kent County 4-H, the Future Farmer students at Kent County High School, and with Trey Hill at Harborview Farm. And our visiting artists worked with them to use their art form to tell the story of agricultural work here in Kent County. That exhibit was up for all of May and part of June, but we're taking a portion of that over to the Kent County Fair next week, and it will be up in the exhibits hall with all of the student art and the photography and the cakes for auction throughout the time of the county fair, Wednesday through Sunday of next week. And so first time sponsoring, first time participating with them, and we're really excited about that. We did work with the Kent Ag Board to have that mural that was created about 3 years ago now, maybe more, by Claire Parker on the side of the Comfort Station building, the new Comfort Station building, and it's a mural that celebrates agriculture in Kent County, so we're proud of that as well. We have funded murals in almost all of the jurisdictions. We desperately need to get one done in Millington, but we're working with Zeta Seals on trying to make that happen, and maybe the folks at La Cascada. But Galena, Tolchester, Rock Hall, Wharton, Chestertown, both Henry Highland Garnett Elementary School has a mural of ours, and so does Rock Hall Elementary School. In 2023, we partnered with the Kent County Local Management Board to create and celebrate the first ever Hispanic Heritage Month program in Kent County. It went from September 14th through October 15th, which were the official dates of the Hispanic Heritage Month, and out of it has been formed a new leadership group called ENYE. You may or may not know that ENYE is the only alphabet letter that is used solely in Spanish and nowhere else. In no other language is there an ENYE. So we use that as the name of the organization. We meet fairly regularly to plan and produce. We are producing another festival this year starting September 14th and running through early October. And it is quite a lot of fun. In 2022 and 2023, we were the manager and funder of the restoration of the Wharton Point Schoolhouse in partnership with Miss Irene and the folks at St. James, and with funding from multiple generous donors. We brought the schoolhouse, the only standing African-American schoolhouse in Kent County, back to its, I won't say former glory because there's nothing glorious about it, back to its original space. We revealed the original ceiling, we revealed the original walls and the original flooring, had it freshly painted inside and out. And if you haven't been there since like 2022, I encourage you to go. It really is a true museum at this point, and really celebrates so much of the Black history of this county. And it was a project that we were just absolutely delighted to be a part of.
Where is that located?
It's on St. James Newtown Road, off of Lambs Meadow Road. The residency is the newest component of our work. It was the primary driver behind the rehabilitation and renovation of the Raymond Center at 101 Spring Avenue. And its primary purpose is to bring in artists who are mid-career or later, professional working artists who can come in and use their art form and use their lenses and their insights to help us gain more insight into our own community. Because sometimes just holding up a mirror to ourselves doesn't always work. It really is helpful to have someone else's view on things. And I think that really hit a home run in the spring when our 3 artists worked with, again, 4-H Future Farmers and with Trey Hill out at Harborview to really help the communities of Kent County understand better, perhaps, just how important the agricultural life of this county is, how much history there is, but also where the future may be with that. Learning from the students who were taking the FFA class and seeing the projects that they were working on, these 17 and 18-year-old kids who are like really excited about learning about what's the right plant to plant near a creek bed that's going to filter this nitrates before it goes into the water and what that means for the waterways in the future, how to create sustainable agriculture in both aquaponics or farmed raised fisheries and things like that. I mean, these kids are high school juniors and seniors, and they're digging into this work. We wanted to celebrate that work through art. And so our artists worked with them really closely to create work that helped to celebrate who they are, celebrate what drives them, the mission and the vision behind FFA, the work that each of these students who are raising animals for the fair and 4-H are doing. It was extraordinarily insightful to us, and we think it was a great launch to the residency. On this next slide, there are additional pictures. There was a lot of interpretation. You really got to see the difference between a healthy field and a dead field, something that's cover crop through the winter and absorbing energy and absorbing nutrient as opposed to a dry field where everything's just running off in a rainstorm. You could not only see those in the upper left-hand corner, but you could hear them because there was audio to go with it. And you could hear the bees and birds humming, and you could see the habitats that were being made in these healthy fields. And that's because of the work of Trey and many of the farmers around here who are doing that on a regular basis and really understanding how important that is for the future of agriculture here. Focusing on the 5 different parts that make up the emblem of the National FFA and what those stand for: truth and wisdom and honor and science, and breaking those out into hand-carved woodcut prints in a way that you can really get into the details of what's driving these students in their studies. Learning what the cattle are eating. That center left bottom picture is actually 4 Highland cattle jawbones from Running W Farm. Bert and Jim spent so much time with us and really helped us to understand what their system is like. They're using the whole cow, what that means for the food system here and food links across Kent County when you can have, as Judy well knows, locally produced beef. And both of you, I mean, really, it's both of the Judys. What that means for our diets and for our own health. So we're hoping that that residency, as it continues, each time it will have a new theme and it'll deep dive and focus into that part of Kent County that can bring more people to these issues, to these areas through art, because art is a really easy way to engage people in our future, We think that arts really contribute to economic development, which is why we're here. There were some years right before the pandemic where we knew the numbers coming out of the state research were showing that for every $1 the state spent on the arts, $4 was added to the tax coffers, both locally and at the state level. We know the anecdotal stories of every time there's a play on at the Garfield Theater or a concert on at the Mainstay, the restaurants in the area are full because people go out. They're not just going to the show. They're getting babysitters. They're parking. Well, no one pays for parking.
But you can if you want to.
They could. I mean, you never know. It has an impact. And I think when you look at things like the National Music Festival, and there's 150 musicians and mentors running around downtown Chestertown and really all over the county as they're going out to the various venues to rehearse. They're going into the stores, they're going into the coffee shops, the places are full. I mean, you couldn't get lunch on a Monday or Tuesday on those 2 weeks during the festival because so much is going on. So we just feel like, hopefully this is less of an introduction and more of an update of who we are and what we're doing, and that we continue to partner with the Economic Development and the Tourism Office to, shine the light on Kent County and all the great things are happening here. And I really overspoke, but I do that. But we had the great fortune a couple of years ago of bringing Hester on to the staff of the Kent Cultural Alliance as we adopted an MOU with the town of Chestertown to manage and run the Chestertown Arts and Entertainment District. And that is what Hester does.
And so, since I knew John was gonna take extra time, I didn't add extra slides for A&E. I'm very smart. Chestertown Arts and Entertainment District, which is about to be embarking on its recertification. So it's been around for 10 years, and in order to be around for the next 10, we've got a whole bunch of work and stuff that we're gonna do, making up our plan for the next 10 years. And part of that, we're gonna add another survey into the mix.
Which we hope you'll fill out.
Yeah, which we hope you will fill out. That should be launching real soon. We work really closely, I in particular with Nina and Main Street, since our sort of geographical designation overlaps so very much. And so I hope you've noticed around Chestertown our banners that went up. The next plan for those, we're expanding on some of them. We're working right now on some designs that are welcoming back Washington College students, ones that are specific to Main Street, and then a holiday one to welcome everyone to downtown Chestertown from both Main Street and the Arts and Entertainment District. And we're also right now working on sort of expanding and rethinking the way that we do our art walks. So the art walks have been sort of the primary event that the A&E district has put on, and it's something where we're working to get people to get their feet into the galleries and arts businesses in Chestertown on a specific day and really sort of take some time and get in there. And then we've also included a pop-up gallery of local artists who don't have a permanent home in the A&E district, but who are local and can benefit from being in the A&E district. And we've sort of thought that focus is a little split, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to create two different events. One that is focusing specifically on the brick and mortar businesses, the things that are there all the time, the real anchors of the Arts and Entertainment District, and then one that celebrates the people who are nearby, and we're going to make that sort of a bit of a party and hopefully bring some music back to Fountain Park as well. And so that'll be in August that we'll be doing our first of those, and if it's a success, then we'll look at how we can sort of make those things happen where we're celebrating both of those things and not trying to do everything all at once, especially because I can only be in about 4 places at the same time. But yeah, that's the gist on that. See, short and sweet.
And we've worked with Jamie to help with
Yes.
some of the tax benefit things that happened. So the county and the town had to agree 10 years ago when A&E was formed on what tax benefits would be available.
And we have to agree again
To do that.
So that's going to be coming up again this year of renewing all of those.
And it's a property tax abatement for the development of a space for arts purposes, and it's also an income tax
reduction for artists who create and sell work within an A&E district in Maryland. So there are A&E districts all across the state, and so if I'm an artist who's creating something in the Chestertown A&E district, and I have a relationship with a gallery in the Oakland A&E district, and I sell something there, I still get that same income tax deduction as long as it's within an A&E district somewhere in the state of Maryland. It also includes shipping because the post office is in the A&E district. So you can ship it anywhere if someone purchases something online, and you still get that income tax subtraction. And then there's also an entertainment it's like tax subtraction, which no one takes
Admissions and
amusement tax, which doesn't really apply for us here. No one's using
No one has that.
that. So, but if someone wanted to open up a real cool music joint in town,
Nonprofit venues don't pay that, so the Garfield doesn't pay it, the Main State doesn't pay it. So
questions.
Have you thought about opening up a shop space in the center for otherwise unrepresented artists?
A permanent space? No.
Yeah, maybe rotating, revolving.
We really, believe it or not, we don't have the space for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Generally speaking, anyone who is in need of that space can easily access it through River Arts because that is what their primary focus is.
Okay.
You pay your $50 membership fee and
Yeah.
you can sell your art in their gallery.
No other criteria.
But commissions and things like that, but yeah, members are allowed to sell in their gallery.
Other question I had was, how do you, I guess it hasn't been an issue because you've had more money than you've had applicants for some of these things, but what criteria do you apply to the artists who receive the grants?
The individual artist, $500 grants have to answer 3 questions. Do you live in Chester, do you live in Kent County, full-time? Are you making art? And
how is your art accessible to the public? And we check up on that to make sure that they're qualified. And then if we get to a point where we have more qualified applicants than we can afford to disperse grant funds for, we'll move to a lottery system.
which is what the state
Yes.
does. And our questions are based on the state's applications. They're very loosely worded and they're meant to be that way to create the biggest access to the funds.
How is art defined?
It is as broad as you could possibly imagine.
Okay.
So,
So it could be a musician, it could be a poet, it could be someone who is making rock formations that look like pelicans. I mean, it could be wood, it could be metal. As long as you are making art and that art is accessible in some way to the public and you're not just hiding it in the back room of your house, then we'll help fund you.
John, how many resident artists did you have, or do you
So
typically have?
we have the space for 4
Okay.
each session. We'll do 3 sessions a year, a spring, a summer, and a fall. So that would be 12 visiting artists total in a year. In the spring, we only had 3. The summer, we have 4. In the fall, I expect we'll have 4 as well.
Question for you, what can the Economic Development Department of the county do to further your agenda and your goals?
I think there's probably 2 things, because I put tourism and economic development together, right? So promotion, obviously, that's the best thing. We have been able to take advantage of some of the magazine buys, which has been great. They're great for us if we have a specific program that works with the time of that particular ad buy. We're not open 24/7, we're also not a retail space. So we're not selling artwork. Our artists can sell their work, but we're not commissioning that, we're not taking commissions for that, and we're not brokering their sales. So if we have a great event coming, which we've done a couple of times, we'll get an ad in with the ad buys, and those are very, very useful. I think economic development-wise, one of the things that we're seeing all over the county is simply the need for affordable studio space. It just doesn't exist. The studios that we created in the Raymond Center, while lovely, are pathetically small already, and we've only had 2 sets of artists in there. So like, we know that's an issue, and in my next incarnation, when we buy another building, we'll do studio space, and we'll try to get that space available. It was a hope, and still remains a hope for 800 High Street, that at some point, the college might consider the option of having some kind of creative space, not the worker space thing for students, but creative space that community members can use, on a regular basis, and even rent, hopefully in a subsidized rent format for studio space. Those are, I think, the 2 biggest things, just making sure the word is getting out about what we're doing. We're struggling getting our own word out, but we always rely on help from tourism for that, and then just the physical space. I know there are other needs. I know the music festival would love to have an actual venue for their concerts that isn't the college, because I know that it's hard to manage that relationship. The college is so busy, particularly in the summertime when the students are gone. There's so many things going on. So, there are definitely space needs, and the space just isn't there at the moment.
Do you have something, Judy?
I was gonna say,
Go ahead.
I'm thinking about relationships with the business community. And one that comes to mind is that driving tour. And is there a way that you could solicit from businesses coupons so that as people are driving through, they could come in and give a coupon and maybe get a wine tasting, or maybe go to Molly's and get, something, or go
That's a
to.
brilliant idea.
And I think
Rose,
that,
put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
I think that would help both entities. It would help the arts and entertainment, but it would also help businesses be like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
I want people, passing through. We do lots of stuff like that with
Yeah.
other businesses.
No, I
But
think
I
that's
haven't
great.
really
So-
done anything with the nonprofits in
So
such
just
a
to be
way.
clear, that is the museums of Kent County. And so it's all of the museums around the county from Rockall to Massey. And so we're not actually, while we support that, we're not actually in that governing thing. But always looking for new ways to expand that because they want to get people into the museum. So if there's a coupon for this or that.
Would you give a coupon for that?
Here,
in
there, or
Rockall?
anywhere, I think that's a great idea. Yeah. And also, River Arts, because River Arts does the studio tour every October, and that's 2 weekends. And those are their members' studios in their homes all over the county. So I'll make a note of that to let Chris know that that's an option as well,
Yeah.
that they should be looking for things like that.
So I wanted to go into the arts in the public schools.
Yes.
Which I think is just terrific. My band just had their 50th reunion. Trauma.
Congratulations. We supported that too.
Yeah. So anyhow, but you mentioned the field trips to the Garfield or the Raymond Center.
Yeah.
But do you ever think of doing field trips to something like, in Philadelphia or
Yes.
DC? Because those are so memorable.
Yeah, so we have done that. This year we sponsored a field trip for about 30 high school students to go to the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Several years ago, we took a group of about 40 students to the Phillips Collection in DC.
Cool.
And we want to do more of that. The funding hadn't been there, and then COVID, and then now it's so much harder to get parental permission slips and to get around the scheduling of the schools. It is something that definitely the teachers ask for, but we need to do a little bit of lobbying on the Board of Ed side
Yeah.
to free up space and time for that to happen. Because we have the money to help them do it, and we want to do that. We do bring a lot into the schools. So a separate relationship that we have with the music festival is when they have their residence concerts, which is 5 times a year, chamber music concerts throughout the year at St. Paul's. We pay for their musicians to stay an extra night and be paid to go in and do a school program the following
Oh,
morning. And we've done that in all 7 out of the 8 schools in Kent County, including Kent School and Radcliffe Creek.
Great.
And that's a growing relationship. It's getting better and better. We also do our own programming in the schools. We have a great presentation coming up in September. A one-woman show who is the founder of the Harlem Shakespeare Theater, and is coming to do a presentation both in the school and then a ticketed event at the Garfield in September.
Cool. Well, that really does add to the reputation of the schools, when we can get that kind of information out there,
Yeah.
that our students have access to that. And I wondered if your program for the teachers helps retain and attract fine arts teachers, do you think? Have you ever studied that, or?
I haven't studied that. I hope it helps retain them. We try and make it clear that we only want to be a resource for them and not a burden, right?
Yeah.
So everything that we work with them on, we make sure that it is in their best interest or their students' best interest. The most recent things that we've done, we started last fall a new program of Kent County School Children's Art in 100 Brown Street, so the newly renovated Aging and Wellness Center at the hospital. So if you go to any appointment in either of those 2 floors of the old office building, you'll now see 40 works of art by students from, again, 7 out of the 8
Oh, that's
schools
cool.
in Kent County. And we're on our 2nd show. The 3rd show will open sometime in the fall, and there's always a reception. We've been working on public art programs with University of Maryland Shore Medical, and that we have 5 murals that were sponsored by the 5 county arts councils, which we coordinated in Kent, Queen Anne, Talbot, Dorchester, and Caroline. So just trying to get local people opportunity to get their art into
Yeah.
a broader audience.
Cool. And then one last thing, you talked about how the land, which I visited that exhibit, and it was just outstanding. You didn't even put up my favorite exhibit, the picture of the shovel, and that was the 30-foot.
I figured that would be a little hard to get from here.
I know, but it's the length of the roots,
Yeah,
and it was
30
just.
feet of roots is
Yeah.
just a single handful.
Yeah, but you talked about how it explains agriculture to the artists, but it also explains art to the agricultural people.
Yes.
You know, so I talked to Trey, he was at a meeting at my house for regenerative ag the other day, and we did a roundtable about what's been going on and what's happening on your farm, and he mentioned Austin.
Yeah.
And just was so touched by that whole experience and the poem that she wrote, and just the friendship, and, yeah, it's just great, and getting out into the fair and stuff, it makes people think about land and agriculture, and the whole FFA thing was just an amazing interpretation of their symbols, which,
Yeah.
just beautiful. I mean, it's just so moving, it's really just transformational. I mean, it was just awesome.
Thank you. We feel that there's been a real influx of people to our community in the last couple of years since COVID, with all of the real estate transactions and things that are happening, and I think that's fantastic. We want to make sure that the people who are coming here also understand what here is about, and why here is so important and so beautiful to be, and much of that is our agricultural celebration.
Well, good luck with the puppet at the fair. I hope you don't swelter doing that.
We will swelter, I'm not worried about that.
Luckily, we don't have to be inside the puppet. We're
I know, but
moving
still.
outside, so it's not like a full mascot
Oh, I know, but just
thing,
that
but
moving and
yeah.
heavy thing has been,
We're so
gonna be
looking
fun.
forward to that. Our puppet from the exhibit will be leading the opening ceremonies and the parade of 4-H students with their animals, as part of the opening ceremonies of the fair, so that's gonna be great.
And when is that?
That's Wednesday night, the 17th.
Yep.
And then, of course, it will be part of the exhibition in the exhibit hall as well throughout the rest of the fair.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Sorry we took so much.
No, it's great.
That's great.
It's great, thank you.
Thank you.
So, quick change in the order here. I think we're gonna go to unfinished business, right? Because you have a time crunch?
I
Okay.
have to leave at 4, so we're gonna do staff updates at the end.
Okay. So the first item, increasing the members, we talked about that briefly in the opening. So I guess, any further comment on that? We'll reach out to, folks will look at try to disseminate the interest form. So the BRE survey, I think everybody has a copy of the most recent iteration.
Yep.
So I wasn't here, but I know there were some suggestions of questions to add or order. Katie, do you want to talk about the changes that you made?
Yes, well,
Okay.
I have the changes that Jamie had made, because I also was not here
Okay.
last
Right.
month.
Right.
But I did review our recorded meeting too. So I think one of the things that had come up is question number 7. We wanted some clarification on talking about like the supply chain needs. So we did want to check and see if this rewording of this question kind of addresses that, or if anybody has any thoughts on that, as far as what types of businesses complement your business or make good partners, the supply chain needs that aren't locally accessible. Is that kind of in line with what everybody was thinking last month, or?
It's certainly in line with how I interpret this kind of subject matter, being that, are there any businesses that complement an existing business from a, sourcing or distribution network, whatever, that could be moved here, right? That kind
Maybe you
of,
can even make it more direct and say what businesses aren't here that you'd like to see here
So
that
that was another
support your business.
thing we wanted to bring up too, because Jamie had put in, I think the question that was brought up at the meeting was what types of businesses should Kent County target to locate here? And that was one thing that Charlie and I were discussing too. Is that something that, do we want to include that in this one? Because I know we're trying to eliminate having too many questions to prevent survey fatigue. And when I was reading it, and I'm not a business owner, but if I'm sitting down with the county and commission members and stuff and we're discussing my business, I felt like it was kind of just tossed in there like, oh, what other businesses do we need here? Kind of like pulling focus away from the business that we're talking to. And everybody else might feel differently. We can certainly add that in, but that was something we wanted to bring up in this discussion too.
I sort of agreed with you that it disrupted the flow
Yeah.
of conversation with the person about their business, and that maybe, it's a good question, but maybe could be
Yeah.
at the end, or,
Or, yeah, because
Or-
it's
or
more
in
like
another-
business attraction. So, yeah, we wanted to talk about that, if we still wanted to incorporate it, or if, like what Charlie said, maybe we hold that as for, yeah, like a post-interview question, or
Yeah,
maybe we
follow-up.
look into doing a business attraction type.
Yeah, I think these 12 work well together. I think it's a solid start, very good.
okay, great. Thank you.
So this is going to be, are we going to send this out? What is the process?
So I guess that's, we need to decide on that too. I know Jamie had talked about us creating a form through HubSpot that we can enter the data and, collect everything there. As far as the actual execution, if it's something where, when we're all out there interviewing businesses, if we're just, writing down the answers to these questions on paper rather than having to have a computer or iPad to fill in the form right then and there,
Well, we could record them if we ask, right?
I don't see why not.
You have to get permission.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would try to do because I can't read my handwriting.
I mean, for my own personal, I envision it more of a conversation.
But you can have a
than,
conversation and
you
still
know.
record it.
Oh, yeah, no, I just meant as opposed to
Oh, yeah, yeah,
typing
yeah, yeah,
answers.
yeah.
And typing the answers,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
that
that's
seemed
why
to-
even taking notes is kind of distracting.
Yeah, so,
So we're not going to send out a survey. We're just going to have it be the people that we contact for now and then follow up. I mean, it seems like this is
Right.
such a good survey. I hate to miss it, just miss so many businesses just because there's only so many of us to do it.
well, I think the original thought was that we would have a list of maybe businesses that we want to consider, and then each member of the commission could pick.
I understand.
A few-
but But I mean, like, there's,
But then it-
how many hundreds of businesses are there?
Right, first
you know,
round, and then continue after that if we wanted
Till we dead?
to. Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have to do it, we could decide how to approach it, but I mean, if we do 1 to 2, that's the personal,
Right, maybe we can get it started. Maybe we could
Right.
somehow work with the Chamber of Commerce or
Others,
somehow
sure.
get this, to as many businesses as possible, because that's where the benefit comes, is getting that whole swath of information, not just sort of selected, which is a great start, and the whole personal contact has its own meaning. But
Sure.
I think if we could just sort of get it out there to a wider audience and really get the pulse of the county without burdening them with another anonymous survey,
Right,
we could
that's-
try to figure that out.
that's my hesitation. I mean, if they'll fill it out, sure, but, if they.
I like the idea of working with the chamber, like,
Yeah.
how do we make that happen?
How do we make that happen? David?
Not involved with the chamber.
I know, you know how they work, or
You
work.
know, I think if you're gonna make a blast, I think, and not have us do an interview, we really wanna try and scale back the questions to 8 to 10, because otherwise, I mean, you folks are business owners, I'm an employee, but if I look at this, probably like, there's stacks of things on this, whereas at 12 questions, where if it's maybe 8-ish, it might be a little bit more realistic to get a better success rate. So I think that should be considered, that,
Well, I do also, I'm sorry, David. I do like the idea of in-person interviews too, though.
no, I do too, but I think that allows for maybe a little bit more, or follow-ups where all of a sudden you sneak a couple questions in on them.
Right.
Trojan horse style.
Yeah, so maybe if these are listed so that of decreasing importance, if you don't get to the last two, then,
Perhaps
Right.
that
you
as
know, who
well.
cares?
But
Yeah.
if you're just, a blast shotgun
Right,
approach,
right.
really
You gotta use your
try and
judgment.
scale it back and,
Yeah.
8-ish, maybe even 6 to 8, just try and increase your success rate.
But how do you think we could work with the chamber? Just, not, nothing specific, just generically how the chamber
Maybe
works.
reach
I
out
don't know how they
to
work.
Sarah
And then she could-
and whether, she could canvass her membership. And, there might be some, I think that they have done some things in the past. Don't hold me to that, I'm not sure the timing, but maybe if there's some best practices to glean from her as well, of what they've done and what worked and what hasn't worked, to try and have some collaboration there.
And there might be a value in having a first pass and seeing how this goes too with,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I'm just saying.
before we-
Learn what not to do and.
roll it
Yeah,
out too
yeah, I was
widely.
just thinking in the
But I think
future.
it's a
Yeah.
good idea,
Yeah.
yeah. So is that your thought and Jamie's thought, you think, Katie, was to maybe do this for 1 to 2 businesses, for the commission members to each take 1 to 2 businesses to do, and then,
Well, I know Jamie had originally mentioned that if we could finalize the questions, then doing practice interviews or mock interviews, for over like the next couple of weeks. I feel like the idea was also tossed around too, for this business profile information. Were we at one point like talking about maybe like putting that out through email and then seeing like the responses we get? And then, because I remember it was discussed, like anything that, information we aren't collecting from the company for this preliminary portion at the top, that, our department would fill in to the best of our ability. So
Right.
maybe that initial intake, we, try to collect like this company information, like the number of employees, you're founded, I mean, some of that stuff we do have. But I feel like that was brought up at one point to
It was.
see, like, get a pulse on who's interested in participating in the survey too. So if we send those out to businesses and get responses
see
for
what you're
that, and then maybe from there, we can set up a
That's a
time
good
for
idea.
in-person interviews. So we
And
at
then
least
maybe
know
from
there's
there-
interest rather than, because we don't want to, just drop in on.
Yeah.
So what would your approach be? Would it be to the businesses to say, we're updating our information on local businesses? Would you please complete this profile for us? And would you be interested in being interviewed about the state of your business and the local economy? Is that the approach?
That, and even, maybe even a step further and let them know, like, because we added on the back side of this, you'll see, it was brought up, what are we doing with this information? And why are we collecting this? So, I feel like we could tie in all of this stuff too, because this could be something that we can use for when we have a chance to develop incentives and packages and things like that. We have more of a pulse on what our businesses need.
Yeah, I think it's a good intro, good entree to then the
Right.
interview.
Right.
Right.
Or just sending out a form, asking them to just put in their basic, like, company information and background too, so.
So you would send this out, you'd ask for it back by a certain date.
Without the questions.
Right, like maybe we set up a form where it has, like, this business profile information at the top, and maybe we ask them to provide their business description, number of employees, things like that. But I think it's important that upfront we let them know what we want to do with this information, that it's not just collecting it for records, that we're hoping to, actually be able to move forward with some things. And that can be drafted, and we can do like a cover letter to send out with it, or even at the top of the form, we can have a letter or a few paragraphs.
Oops, that was me.
Earlier, sounds like somebody dying.
Just to kind of lay out what it is, and then go from there. We'll see who is actively participating, who's open for it, and then maybe those are the first like handful that we go and interview in
Target
person.
for interviews. We may also want to think ahead of time about bellwether
About what?
companies. Bellwether companies for
Oh,
Kent
that's on
County.
the list,
You know, who are the,
Yeah, I
who
just
are
didn't
the
understand what
people
you meant. I
we
know what it
really
means.
want
I
to
didn't hear
target
you.
for
Yeah.
answers and make sure that it's a broad, we have a spectrum of businesses that are included in the list of companies to be interviewed. Everything from small retail to, Bramble or whatever.
And just briefly,
discussed that.
we talked about, just before we started the official meeting, the possibility of, I know it was originally targeted for October, but is there any way to speed it up a little bit?
Sure, I'm all for
So,
speeding it up.
Just to,
Yeah, and I just want to say, I think that cover letter is almost as beneficial as the survey, because we, haven't done this in a long time, is my understanding. And so if we can just get out, reaching out to the businesses and saying, we want to talk to you, we want to know what's going on, we're concerned. And I think that's really a first step in really kind of creating a business community that I think could be nurtured a little more than we have right now, and just in the bigger picture. I know
agree
you
with
guys
you.
do very specific things, I'm not criticizing or anything
Oh, no,
like that.
I absolutely agree with you. I think that this would be nice too, to also face-to-face have
Yeah,
the conversations
and that's the
and
second
stuff.
part of it,
Yep.
yeah.
Nope, I think this can be really, really good.
great. And then, are you doing incentives, the new business, or do
Oh,
we
yeah,
want to do
did
that
anybody else
before?
have any other input on any of these questions, or are we happy with these?
Well, let us go back and review the questions.
And maybe next month we can get everything
Yeah.
finalized, and then we can maybe put a timeline together from
Yeah.
there.
But I think, yeah,
That's a good idea.
with the framework of how you want to present it, I think that's,
Yeah, maybe if
roll it out.
next meeting, you could give us the cover letter and or
The
even.
initial,
and-
I can
and
set up
and
the initial
form.
form for this preliminary company information, and then absolutely draft a cover letter, and we can all review it and see how we want to tweak it, and then go from there.
Well, we can send in I think we got to send in our comments on which ones we want to nuke to you ahead of time, and then you can revamp the list using your best judgment.
Yes, yeah, the more finalized that we can get this before next
Yeah,
meeting,
so
the
send
better.
send us a reminder sometime like the beginning of August to get that in, if we don't do it
Absolutely.
beforehand.
Is that it for unfinished business? And new business
I will hop up
for you,
there. So I know one of the things that was brought up with the last meeting was questions about the incentives, and I do not have all of those answers, but I do have some stuff to share with you guys. Can you actually pass me that, or I can sit on. Okay. So, we did want to show everybody just where we have all the incentives listed on the website. So if you go to kentcounty.com/business, underneath our business tab, we have incentives right here. And it's broken out between the different types. We have the tax credits, grants, loans, and programs. The tax credits, there are, these top two here are the ones that we administer. The Commerce Zone Tax Credit, and then also the Kent County Enterprise Zones, which we now have 3 enterprise zones. We have Chestertown, Rock Hall, and then the Wharton Industrial Area. I did pull numbers, because I know, Judy, I think you were asking about some of the statistics and things like that. So what I know, I work with these tax credits here, the ones with the county. Currently, we have 8 businesses that are utilizing our Commerce Zone tax credit. And then we have a total of 19 businesses across the enterprise zones, well, between Chestertown and Rock Hall, that are utilizing some form of the enterprise zone.
how many was that?
What's that?
How many was that the last?
19 total. So we have 5 businesses in Chestertown utilizing the property tax credit, 9 businesses in Chestertown utilizing the income tax credit. And then in Rock Hall, we have 5 businesses that are utilizing the property tax credit.
Is it the same 9 businesses using both the property and the,
Some of them, but some of them are separate too. I don't have like the list in front of me of who, I just pulled the numbers. But no, there's some people who only, because the property tax credit is, if you own the property and you're making capital improvements to it. And then the income tax credit is if you're creating new jobs. So some people might be creating new jobs, but they're not doing any capital, updates to their property.
I guess my question was, is it 18 businesses in total? Or is it just 9 businesses?
There's 19 businesses total utilizing the enterprise zone tax credit. A couple of them might be overlapped in both property and income tax, but I think the majority of them are separate.
No, I was talking about the 9 in the Commerce Zone.
The 8 in the Commerce Zone, that's separate. I'd have to look at the list to see which of those were, because you're asking if they're receiving both the Commerce and Enterprise Zone tax credits. Yeah, I'd have to look at that.
So Katie, I think the point in the book that she was making was that would these businesses be doing it without the tax breaks? And are we losing money because we're giving an incentive for something that they would do otherwise? I think is something we would want to consider, or just sort of analyze. You know what I'm saying? If they're already going to do an improvement, would they be doing it anyhow? And then, that tax break money could be used somewhere else in the budget, just to evaluate the actual cost benefit of the incentive is what the point was.
No, I absolutely understand what you're saying. I feel like there's such a small amount of businesses participating right now that I don't think it is breaking the bank in that sense for some of these.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how much money that is, but yeah, I mean, I just don't, okay.
Well, and also too, Jamie will be able to go into much more depth about this, because she lives and breathes it.
Yeah,
But-
and I don't even know if you can even know that. I just think that's something we need to just keep in mind, that we're not subsidizing something that would already happen and losing the opportunity to spend that money somewhere else.
Right. No, I absolutely understand what you're saying. I can't speak to any of these other, though, that aren't, from the county, the state programs and things like that. I don't have numbers on those either. But these are all the tax credits listed out here. We also have our grants, and again, these top two, well, right now, the only thing we have through the county is the Upper Shore Ag Grant, which is our partnership with Upper Shore Regional Council. Upper Shore Workforce Investment Board is still pushing out the Incumbent Worker Training Fund. So we have all the information listed on the site here. There's a handout that people can download for more information. Again, we're not handling that, we're just helping spread the word. When we have the Ag Grant, when that's open, we do administer that. And here's some more state grants and things like that that are available. When we have a business coming to us asking about any incentives, if there's not something on the county level that applies to them, we do connect them with Nancy LaJoyce, which I know everyone's familiar with. She does a great job with explaining all of these the state level programs. The Marbidco grant program is something we've been able to utilize through the Ag Grant. We've had a few businesses. In fact, Judy, you guys were able to
When we
use.
first got started, Crow did. when we
Yeah,
first got
in
started.
21, I think, or 2020, yeah. So, we do push out this information and share all of this with everyone, if, when they're coming to us looking for the incentives. We have the loans listed. Again, Jamie can speak more to these. I have not worked with any really, other than directing, people to these other companies, I personally have not worked with any of these programs, or these loans. And then we also have the programs listed out as well. So that's where all of these are. If there's specific questions in addition to what was asked last month, I will absolutely do my best to pull that information, or, maybe pull somebody who could speak to it better than I can. But we did just want to make sure that people were aware of where we do have it listed out on the site. So,
Great, thank you.
no problem.
Staff reports, you have to go, Katie, right? Okay.
Step out.
I'm handling staff reports.
Thank you.
This is my job today. Okay, so first up, the Kane County FY 2025 budget has been adopted. The ETD operating budget is $198,000. $90,000 of it is for tourism advertising. $50,000 is economic development advertising and county sponsorships. There's another $22,000 that's allocated for other advertising such as visitors guide printing, brochure printing, the photo library, video creation services. The FY '25 DMO grant, which comes from the Office of Tourism, this year is $27,698. We're also, I don't know if you guys remember, we were awarded the EDA grant that was $112,000. So that is for 2 years. So that is to be spent over FY '24 and FY '25. And we did receive the whole $112,000, and we are using that to continue ads that we're running, that we ran with the surplus of tourism advertising from the state last year. We were able to do TV spots with WBAL, WJZ, WMAR, and then radio streaming through iHeart. So we're kind of redoing all of that again with this EDA grant over the next 2 years. Some of those have already began. I don't know if anyone's seen some of the commercials. I know we received some messages about it, but Charlie's looking at me like, I don't have TV. Charlie doesn't have it. Also, another thing that we're gonna be trying to do more of is our office will be sharing where we're planning on advertising with the Lodging Association, with the Downtown Chestertown Association, Main Street, and Greater Rock Hall Business Association. That way, like for an example, I sent an email a couple weeks ago. We ran an ad for Pirates and Wenches specifically in Fish Talk, Prop Talk, and Spin Sheet. So I went ahead and let the Lodging Association know, and Greater Rock Hall, and even Chestertown know, hey, if you guys would like to contact, Spin Sheet publication owns all three of those medias. But if you want to get in touch with them, here's the representative that we used. And, it could end up being a kind of a makeshift co-op where it ends up being 5 pages of Kent County things all in one article or in one edition. So I'm trying to spread that word a little bit more as we are doing ad buys. Another thing, Katie created postcards that Rose is gonna pass out. So just make sure that you follow economic development and tourism on social media. And Katie made these postcards showing all of our social media channels, and if you guys need more, we can make more if you're
Thanks.
going somewhere or attending something and you wanna give those out. So, you know, we utilize social media a lot to spread the word for everything that we're working on, along with the newsletters.
And there are more if you want the additional
Yes.
copies.
Through the Kent County partnership with other Eastern Shore counties, we participate with the American Bus Association, or the ABA. There was an annual conference that was held, and it resulted in a tour group that visited Kent County, Crow, and Chestertown on June 21st. I reached out to Miss Helen Arthur today and asked her when the next 2 bus tours are. There are 2 more upcoming, and she hasn't replied yet to me with the dates. But what we want to do is kind of get a knowledge of when these groups are coming, so we can let downtown Chestertown know, you know, hey, there's gonna be a bus that comes on this date, and, you know, you can be prepared, or have knowledge of where they're going ahead of time. And then another thing, what else do we have? In 2022, Kent County hosted 328,100 visitors, which was an increase of 4%. They spent $72 million, which is an increase of 4.8% over, we don't include, you know, 2020 numbers. So I think it's like going back to 2019 is where the increase is judged off of. DHCD funding, a press release from Governor Moore's office went out yesterday announcing that DHCD awarded more than $16.2 million to assist small businesses. In Kent County, the following were awarded. Play It Again Sam's was awarded funding through the Business Boost Program. Main Street Chestertown and Main Street Rock Hall were both awarded funding through the Main Street Improvement Grant and Project Restore 2.0. And finally, our office is gearing up for Mako, which you guys know is next month. That's why we moved next month's meeting. It is being held August 14th through the 17th. The theme this year is Winter Wonderland, and our booth will be focusing on winter tourism in Kent County.
Well, that's funny, that's the fair's tour theme this year, it's kind of like Winter Wonderland.
The Kent County Fair?
Yeah, and they're having-
So the hottest week every
I know,
year.
But Blackbriar's making peppermint ice cream, isn't
I
that
love
cool?
that.
I'm sorry, I digress, but
Yeah, no, that's funny though.
That's funny,
Yep,
because I thought it
that's-
was kind of like, what?
Yep, that's the theme. So we're gonna be focused on winter tourism, and we'll be creating a booth and raffles and all sorts of fun stuff for Mako, based on wintertime in Kent.
Say, would you send, I couldn't keep up with.
I know, I had a
think
big
the
list.
budget, would you send the budget and the tourism numbers to us?
Yeah.
Just so we can have that in our files.
Question on the budget.
Yep.
Of the $198,000, how much of that is for activity other than conferences and advertising?
Well, Rose, it's such an elaborate breakdown. I don't know how to.
Well, as far as the conferences would be separate for most of it. That's the office budget itself. And that's not included in the 90 and what was the other number? I'm sorry, I'm not.
The 90 and 50.
Yeah, because I'm not familiar with their budgets. I keep my own for the office. So anything with the conferences, registrations, that type of thing typically comes out of the office budget. It's within, what the county has given us. The majority of what Shallon's budget and the Katie's budget is wrapped up in advertising and the trade shows and, am I missing anything?
And really, trade shows is like very minimal, because we really don't.
Yeah, the
we're not-
majority
we don't
of it
tend
is
to
in
spend it.
advertising.
The majority of it is spent on advertising.
Right, I'm just trying to figure out how much of the budget could be used for economic development projects, other than, promoting Kent County as a tourism location. I can't figure that out.
Yeah, so is that on the, like, the budget breakdown probably? Like, they're really,
For a project, no.
no.
Yeah, Dick and I met with Jamie about that earlier in the year, and it was hard to get that number broken out. I had a hard time getting that number.
Yeah. I can understand.
Yeah, so we can revisit it, but I think it's going to be nebulous.
Okay, so we don't really know.
I couldn't get that. I'm not saying we don't know, I just couldn't figure it out.
All right, well, maybe
So
Jamie has
ask
a
her to
better
ask-
handle
ask
on
her
it.
to-
say, Jamie's the one with the big budget book. She's
Yeah.
the one to relate it, no.
Now, I understand there was some change in activity as between your department and planning and zoning. The grant,
That was
The
the,
grant,
The grant manager's position is going to be housed under the Planning, Housing, and Zoning Department.
that's
and it
different
was
from the,
formerly in
It was
economic and
formerly
tourism.
grant, so the grants manager position was not in our department.
Oh,
It
okay,
actually, she was right next door to us, but she really wasn't, I don't think, part of a department. She served all departments.
okay.
With the housing and transportation coordinator that Jamie tried to reestablish this year, and the commissioners chose not to fund that, that was going to be housed in our department.
and
was
previously in our department.
Correct, but
yes.
it was grant funded previously. So that's why we had it there. And then the grant funding was not renewed. The commissioners chose not to fund that position, but they funded the grants manager position, which is going to stay under the planning, housing, and zoning.
Which is where that position was.
Like the grants position?
No.
The grants manager position, I think, was housed just under the commissioners. It wasn't, you know, we had Penny, who was just her own, it wasn't really under a department, because
No. She worked
grants for every
with it.
department in the county.
So let me ask this question. If the grants manager is successful in finding grant support for a person to, or resources to pursue transportation and housing-related projects, do we know where that person or resources would be housed?
I think it would be between us or planning, housing, and zoning. That would be a decision, like, the commissioners would have to make, I'm assuming.
Right, they would have the ultimate decision, but I think Shallon, I would agree with what her comment is, that it would be between us and housing and
I thought it
planning.
had, I thought it had moved, but I guess, no, that
It was just never funded.
never funded, but
No, I think they
Correct.
would have had to make a decision where it was going, if it was, you know, if it was funded.
got it. Okay.
Got it, okay.
Any other questions?
When is the next meeting? I have 2 dates on my calendar, and I think we changed some.
August 7th.
It's August 7th.
Thank you.
I was going to ask the same thing. So does that bring us to agenda items for the August meeting?
It does.
And do you have those? Anything?
I do. Did you print it or no? Let me pull it up. As soon as it'll load, I'll be happy to share with you guys. Okay, so on the August agenda, do we not have a guest speaker, I guess?
I know Jamie was gonna reach out to the top 3 from the survey that we did
Okay.
with
To see if we can get
everyone, and
one.
I don't think that's been scheduled yet.
Not
She's
yet.
not gotten, no.
Yeah, so right now, we just have more of like a brainstorming session that is about the business sentiment and BRE visits. So that's what we have for August right now. And then any unfinished or new business. But I'm assuming that's subject to change if Jamie, you know, finds someone who, you know, wants and agrees to come in for the August meeting.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, like the short-term rentals? Are we still, like, getting information about that, or?
Where is this baby?
In what respect, Judy?
Well, do we have numbers of actually how many are in the county
That's all, so the new program that the commissioners agreed to go with for collecting the taxes, we should have everything identified and have all of that information by August. August 10th is sort of our go-live date. We'll be sending out letters ahead of time notifying, we have, I believe it's 2 different letters. One will be going out to existing businesses, the other one will be going out to new businesses to say, this is our new process, this is where the new taxes are going. And then starting the first month that you can pay online will be due August the 21st. So we have training that's coming up primarily for the finance office. Jamie and I will also be taking part, if not all, I'm pretty sure we're only going to be doing part, coming up in, I believe, next week or the week after.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
How many short-term rental properties did you identify?
Well, we don't have that number from the company.
Oh, okay.
We only have the preliminary numbers of my rough survey of research when I looked, and we were at roughly, Rock Hall, I think, was around 80, the county around 77, Betterton had 12, Millington had 1, so,
So it's a fair number.
Crumpton has a few.
yes, Crumpton. Galena, I have heard rumors, is about to have their first, so,
Oh, in the town?
in the town.
Okay.
I don't believe that has happened yet, but I've not seen it if it has.
What about Chestertown,
Chestertown had, oh gosh, Charlie,
More.
the one number I didn't spit out,
That's fine.
they had quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had someone, because I was full, so they went on and they were looking, and they located 15 for next weekend, downtown Chestertown.
You mean 15 Airbnbs in Chestertown? There's more than that.
Well, they are just identified.
Yeah, but I mean,
Just available.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, there's way more than that.
I thought that was the question, sorry, yeah,
No,
yeah.
yeah, that is the question, but nobody knows how to get the answer to that.
I've heard a number, but I can't remember. I think you might have said a number early on, and I can't remember it.
And like I said, that particular number, I can find it for you on the spreadsheet that I had upstairs. I feel like 56 is sticking in my head, but I don't know that that's the correct number, so I don't want to spit that out, but it's quite a few. I was mostly impressed with the number that's within the town limits of Rock Hall. That is a lot. It was like 80.
Way too many.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I heard recently that, I came in 2009, and since a couple of years ago, they were saying the population had not changed, the demographics had, but the population of Rock Hall had not changed in like 300 years or something. But now, the full-time residents now, I heard it's somewhere between 700 and 900. is
I
what
would
had
believe that. I know it's the full-time residents, it's not many.
heard. Yeah.
It's not many. It's changed drastically.
How much, what did it used to be?
So who gets
Used to
letter
be
one, who
the
gets letter two?
the full-time was around 1,300.
If they're already paying taxes and are
Okay.
familiar with the fact that they owe taxes, they would get one letter. And then the folks that we've identified but aren't paying taxes for whatever reason, they will get a different letter.
And for them, that could be a real wake-up call.
I think you're gonna have a combination. You're gonna have those that are gonna be truly, really didn't realize it, which I'm not sure how you can do that with all of the information we've put out with the research that we did do. But you're also gonna have, the group that, will scurry to pay it of, oh my gosh, and you're gonna have some that are still gonna ignore it and say, you're gonna have to come and get me, so. And and we're trying to prepare, and there will be letters that will follow up. If you don't pay, there will be a letter that goes out to say, you haven't paid, we're under the, impression that, or, we have information to lead us to believe that you rented, and we have the sites the program is pretty impressive in what it will identify, where it was advertised, the advertisement that we saw, photographs of it, when it was rented. So, we do have enough information to really say to them, it would be difficult for them to get out of saying, I don't have that, so.
Big Brother's eyes are on you.
It's true.
Wow.
Anything else for the good of the cause before public comments?
Well, I will circle back with one thing to Judy Crow, when you talked about possible incentives to include with the driving tour. I represent our office on that board, so I can certainly make sure that we take it and discuss it. I certainly don't think that any of them would have a negative feeling about trying to do, putting something together for next year's, because like John said, they are trying anything and everything to increase the traffic and activity at the museums.
You know what would be a good idea, Judy, and I think I have a vague memory of doing this with the DCA when I had some responsibility there, would be instead of doing individual tickets, to do a tear sheet or a booklet of tickets. And if the businesses that wanted to put that together provided that, for example, to the museums or to the tours, that would make it easy for them to get that into the hands of potential participants. And it was really, when we did it many, many years ago, it was really a welcome way to go about it, as opposed to single tickets.
On a different topic, there's such a thing as the ice cream trail in Maryland, and I think it's run by MDA. So only Lockbriar was listed when I looked it up, and we have more ice cream.
Yeah, there's certain
Rules?
rules and parameters, because we actually receive the ice cream trail rat cards, like, we get them here. I think the state or somebody sends us the ice cream trails, and we looked into that and reached out to them probably last year. And there are certain rules and stipulations to be on the ice cream trail, just like the Scrapple Trail and this trail. And at the time, Lockbriar was the only one that qualified, and I don't know if it's because where the ice cream was from or where it was, because it's not like if you're an ice cream shop, you can be on the ice cream trail.
Right,
There's
but several of ours do make their own ice cream or have local batch ice cream. Like even the big one where Dunkin' Donuts does sugar, what's it, I never remember that.
Sugar Doodles.
Sugar Doodle sells Vanderwyn ice cream.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think we ought to just explore that to see if we can't get a couple
Yeah, I mean,
more.
I can reach back out to them and just say, here's a list of,
Yeah.
our latest ice cream shops, and this is where because I do know there's a couple, like the one in Galena, I think is Hershey's, so it's
Right.
not.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure who Get the Scoop is using now, because they're not using Kilby anymore.
Right, but I thought it was still a little.
I don't know, but I'll have to look, but there's a whole list of things that get you on or not on the ice cream
And then we
trail,
should
but I
talk
can
about
definitely-
that, we should talk to them about that list too.
Yeah, we can definitely.
Because like Godfrey's, I don't know where they get their ice cream, but just a plug, it's so delicious. It's
Yeah.
only $3 for like this giant kitty scoop, and they have all kinds of really cool flavors. So, and I only go there once a week. But, regardless of where it's made, I mean, it's still an attraction. That should be the point, is to get people
Yeah.
in the door.
And I think that it was one of those things where when we got the rat card originally, like last year or the year before, we were like, what is this? Like, how do we,
Right.
get more of our businesses on it? And it just kind of like a fluke, somebody sent it to our office, or we ended up getting them somehow. I can't remember.
I thought Stam's made their own, too. I thought Stam's made their own.
You mean
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Sam's does, yeah.
Yeah, they're not on it.
no.
No, I'll have to reach out to them. I'm sure we still have the cards upstairs, or I can.
Yeah,
look
and just sort of
online and-
see if they can't tweak it to get
Yeah.
some more of ours on there.
Yeah, I can do that.
Good.
Great. Anything else? Anyone? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All right, thank you.
You do a nice job, Charlie.
Yeah, nice job. Push up.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You.